You deserve the truth. You deserve a press which scrutinises and challenges politicians, which challenges the vested interests who, quite frankly, in this country are always in power, whoever happens to be in office. Now, behind me is The Telegraph. The Telegraph at the moment are one of the papers who are orchestrating a smear campaign which is based on lies. You'll have heard all about it, this Czech spy who is a less reliable source than that guy at the end of the night who's had one too many tequila slammers and is sort of dribbling a bit and ranting incoherently.
Why on earth would you be so small-minded?
This guy was a diplomat back in the 1980s and he met Jeremy Corbyn. He also, this guy though, claims to have been behind Live Aid. Which apparently was funded by Czechoslovakia. And also he was briefed by Jeremy Corbyn on what Margaret Thatcher would be wearing the next day. Now, I don't think, looking back, it's that controversial to say Jeremy Corbyn and Margaret Thatcher were not exactly live-in partners, to say the least. The person in charge of the Czechoslovak Security Archive says there's no evidence whatsoever that he was any sort of informant whatsoever. And equally, an official in the Czech Defence Ministry just says that this spy is a liar. He's not believable. He's not a credible source. And yet the Telegraph and the right-wing press establishment in this country have used this farcical, ridiculous, embarrassing single source to justify an entire smear campaign which has been running day after day after day. And of course they're working in sync with the Conservative Party. We've had Tory MPs quite literally making libellous claims. One of them, Ben Bradley in Mansfield, best known for calling for unemployed wasters to be sterilised. He tweeted out that he was in the pay of the Czechoslovak regime and selling secrets to them. He had to delete that tweet and now has a letter filed against him by Jeremy Corbyn's lawyers demanding a full apology and also a donation to a charity, which I hope goes to a food bank in his constituency. We've had a security minister compare him to Kim Philby, who was a traitor, who sold secrets to the Soviet Union. We've also had Gavin Williamson, the Defence Secretary, suggest that Jeremy Corbyn had betrayed his country. Wow, unbelievable. I mean, Gavin Williamson is desperately positioning himself to be Prime Minister, but nonetheless, what you see here is a systematic smear campaign based on lies. And it's dangerous. We already have in this country a disgraceful discourse promoted by the right-wing press. Enemies of the people, crush the saboteurs, blue murder, and it is serious. Don't forget, a Labour MP, Joe Cox, was murdered by a fascist terrorist who said death to traitors. We also had an Islamophobic terrorist who drove his van into a mosque a few months ago. In the court proceedings, it was revealed he was radicalised partly by the media and he wanted to kill Jeremy Corbyn on the basis he was a terrorist sympathiser. Actions have consequences. We are often told that we have a free press. Now, in the sense the press is not run by the government, that happens to be true. I mean, we're not North Korea, not the most ambitious of places to start, I'm going to be brutally honest, but instead we have a tiny group of media moguls who run almost the entire British press, who are aggressively right-wing, who wish to defend a status quo, an unjust status quo for the majority, but one from which they directly profit from. And they decide, in their own minds at least, what is the acceptable kind of window of acceptable political ideas. They decide the political priorities of the day. And what they do to anyone who opposes that status quo or who challenges that status quo is they demonise them, they humiliate them, or they ignore them or airbrush them out of existence. They quite clearly see Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party as a terrible threat to everything they believe in. This isn't about having a press which actually tells the truth, because of course Jeremy Corbyn should be scrutinised, of course he should be challenged, of course he should be criticised. But when you have virtually the entire British press, which frankly doesn't even regard him as a legitimate democratic opposition, who are trying to portray the Labour Party as a sinister, monstrous threat to the very existence or the future of this country and its security, is that healthy in a democracy? Is it democratic at all? I'd argue it isn't. And I think what we're seeing is desperation. In this general election last year, in 2017, they threw everything they could at the Labour Party, and it didn't work. The Tories lost their majority. We saw the power of social media as a message which challenged the overwhelming kind of hysteria of the right-wing press, and it didn't work for lots of people because they looked at their shrinking pay packet. They looked at the fact they couldn't get an affordable home, that their public services were in crisis, that they lacked optimism in the future, and they saw that campaign for what it was, which was a systematic campaign of lies to deflect from the real problems for which the right wing in this country have no answers whatsoever. So when you have this Tory establishment becoming more and more hysterical, it's because they are scared of a government which will overturn a social order, an economic order which has governed this country now since the late 1970s under Thatcher and her successors. In the coming months, coming years, as the Tories flap around, terrified, as their economic and social order continues to crumble, as millions of people continue to turn away from everything they stand for, this is going to get worse. It's going to get more hysterical. All of us have got to get stuck in and challenge the lies of the right-wing press, whether it be a mass movement of hundreds of thousands of people to go out into our communities and tell people what's really going on, or of course using social media to get out an alternative message, a message of hope about how great this country can be, and to point out that the reason they're doing this hysteria, is because they're scared, because they're losing, and we're winning. I want to hear your ideas, I want to hear your thoughts. Should we just ignore it? La 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 la, till it all goes away? It won't. But leave your comments below the line. We've got loads of other videos, just click on them. As ever, subscribe. I'll see you next time.